Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today at the Willy Street Fair. It's the 39th annual Willy Street Fair, and we're happy to have you join us for the first ever live stream. This is sponsored by Heartland Credit Union here in the neighborhood. It's being produced by Hinckley Productions, and it's being streamed by Field 59. I have Bert Zipperer here joining me.
Hi, Mike.
My name is Mike. I'm from Common Wealth. And we're just going to talk a little bit. Right now, they're just setting up for the fair, for the parade. The parade actually starts at about 11 a.m. If you come down near the corner of Willy Street and Patterson, that's where the parade will start. And we're coming to you live from the top of Plan B. So, Bert, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Mike.
Thanks for being the first guest of the day. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do and how long you've been in the neighborhood?
You know, I've been in the neighborhood. I moved to Madison in 1980. So Willy Street Fair was already 3 years old when I moved to Madison, moved to the neighborhood 3 years later when it was 6 years old. So, and the rest of the time I've been here. I think what's really interesting is where this neighborhood came from before that. Because as Madison developed, everything on this side of the Capitol was industrial. So the smoke wouldn't affect real people who lived west of the Capitol. Whereas so the west of the Capitol was residential and university, east of the Capitol was industrial and working class. So this area was heavily industrial, heavily working class, which went into some real significant disarray. Deindustrialization, the loss of jobs and industries starting in the late 60s through the 70s. So this area was tremendously devastated. At the same time, the university activists, the people who'd been opposing the war in Vietnam, who'd been pushing for civil rights, who'd been pushing for women's rights, and all sorts of wonderful, strong activism of the late 60s, early 70s, moved in. And the Renaissance happened here, the revitalization of this area, first as renters. And the Willy Street Fair is part of that. You know, you've got the Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center, which is developed in 1968. It begins there. But then you start looking at Commonwealth development. WORT comes out of this era of 1974. On and on and on. You've got Union Cab of the later 70s, Madison Development Corporation. A lot of neighborhood democracy efforts for social justice. This neighborhood was being torn down in the early 70s, in the 70s, and houses were being torn down, and quick, cheap cinder block apartment buildings were being put up to make a ton of money. And the neighborhood organized to pass the first historic preservation ordinance to stop people from tearing down historic houses and just putting up anything. So now you had to redevelop in a historic fashion, which meant that they stopped redeveloping that way. So the preservation of the neighborhood, the revitalization of the neighborhood, the rejuvenation of the democracy, and the empowerment of the neighborhood all comes out of the 70s, and that's the Willy Street Fair heritage right there. 1977, the first Willy Street Fair happened.
Yeah. So what are some of the rumors that you've heard in terms of how the fair started?
You know, it's interesting talking to people. I think the beginnings of the fair are a bit lost in the mists of time. There's probably people who really know the real story. I'm not so sure I've talked with them. What I understand is that the first couple of years, possibly, it was the C.C. Riders Motorcycle Club, which was behind the Wisco, which Tiny had owned until recently when he died. But the C.C. Riders may have started the fair the first couple of years. Another friend says she's sure it was called Lazy Days the first year or two. That might be the most far-fetched rumor that I've heard. But what's really clear is that this has captured the spirit of the neighborhood, and this day, after many decades, it's the Commonwealth Development and the Wil-Mar Neighborhood, Williams and Marquette Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center, which are the core organizers of this. But the secret of the neighborhood is that it was never one person or one organization. It was a group effort. It was a community coming together. We are bigger than the sum of our parts. The sum of our parts makes us stronger and better. And so that's the beauty of it. The beauty of the neighborhood is also, we were talking about Commonwealth development before this, which comes out of Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center back in the day. But Commonwealth as a developer, a neighborhood-based developer, this neighborhood didn't have the constraints of other neighborhoods, where the developer says, well, I can't make a ton of profit at that, so I'm not going to do it. Here, the neighborhood wanted it. Commonwealth found a way to make it happen. So our development and our ability to do things here was fundamentally different than elsewhere because we were operating beyond the pure motive of profit and capitalism.
Sure. So if you're just tuning in now, this is Mike from Commonwealth, and I have a guest, Bert Zipperer, coming to you live from the top of Plan B. We're broadcasting live from the Willy Street Parade, which starts at 11, but we're going to have some fun until then. And we're talking a little bit about Commonwealth. That's where I've been working for about the past year. Commonwealth started in 1979, and we've done a lot of housing development. We have 111 units of affordable housing on the east side and near the Williamson-Marquette neighborhood. We also have 28 more units in the Meadowood neighborhood on Madison's west side. We have a couple business incubators here in the neighborhood. One is in partnership with MG&E at 100 South Baldwin. That used to be part of the old Gestalt's factory. We have about 15 businesses in that building, as well as the Commonwealth Gallery. And then we also own and manage Main Street Industries, which is at 931 East Main Street. We also do youth employment training, so we provide financial literacy training and job placement for teenagers ages 14 to 16. We work out of all 4 Madison public high schools, and then we also work with Sun Prairie High School on that program, and we place 135 students per year. And then our last program, we've started to do adult employment training in the Meadowood neighborhood. So we've been able to train maybe about 80 people in the past year in our first year of doing this program. So definitely check out our website if you want to learn more, www.cwd.org. I'm here with Bert Zipperer, and we're just kind of talking about the neighborhood.
It's interesting what you were just talking about. You're talking about the Gestalt Foundry, which went out of business in Madison.
Yeah,
You're talking
80s,
about the East Main Street Enterprises building, which was the Greyhound bus terminal.
Yeah, that's
and clearly we don't have a bus terminal anywhere in Madison now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about this neighborhood, in a sense, dying and then being reborn, the phoenix coming out of the ashes, and Commonwealth was there to make it all happen. In large part. In large part. Go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah. No, I wasn't around for all that history, so I vaguely remember from childhood the Greyhound station on East Main, but
first time I came to Madison, I came into the Greyhound station, and it was a gray, dark winter day. I walked out the front doors on Main Street, looked left and right at the MG&E, all the industrial, and I'm like, this isn't quite the Madison I was expecting to see. It's just like, okay, well, I just thought it would look different. But that was 100 years ago.
So can you talk a little bit more about what you've done in your life and just kind of what brought you here?
Well, like a lot of people, I've been the alderperson of this district. I certainly haven't been the only one. Billy Feitlinger's here organizing today a voter drive. He was the alder in the early 80s. I came in the later 80s and 90s.
So you worked with Mayor Soglin?
Mayor Soglin, second term,
Second time around, yeah.
So Soglin's first elected in 73 to 79. And in those 6 years, that's the Willy Street Fair beginning in Commonwealth, and a lot of amazing things happened. The teacher strike happened. I mean, I'm a retired member now of Madison Teachers Incorporated, but the Madison Teachers Incorporated big strike happened in 76, in the winter of 76. And they're located right here in Willy Street, and they'll be doing a big part of the parade today. That era is amazing. So when I'm in office, I've been elected in 89, and Soglin's coming back into office. And it was like a rejuvenation of city government at that point. But I just sort of am in awe of this neighborhood. When you stop and think about what happened, I come from a place called Brillion and the industrial heartland along the East Coast, what I consider the East Coast, which is East Coast of Wisconsin, Manitowoc County, Sheboygan County. And you see a lot of towns that have been devastated by the deindustrialization, the loss of industrial jobs, industries closing, moving. And that's exactly what happened here. We were fortunate to have a critical mass, a state government, some other economic bases here to build on. But this could be really different, but for a lot of work and a lot of people back in the 70s, which is partly what we celebrate today, the idea of community, the idea of everyone coming together, that unity through all the pieces coming together, unity. And here we are.
Yeah. So one other thing going on at Commonwealth that's worth noting, this is actually Mary Ann Morton's last Willy Street Fair as the executive
Which is amazing because she was here, she started right after the Earth's crust cooled at Commonwealth. and she has been, all joking aside, Mary Ann Morton deserves a ton of credit. She's been a stalwart, she's been a pillar of principle and of keeping her eyes on the prize of what we are about, what development should be for, which is for people, for the use of the neighborhood, for the benefit of us all, and and housing for people, not for merely for profit. Marianne Morton deserves a round of applause from all of us.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So Marianne started at Commonwealth in 1981 as a Vista volunteer. She's been with Commonwealth ever since. This is her 35th year. She announced her retirement just a few weeks ago, and she'll be retiring effective February 3rd, 2017. So yeah, she's been a part of many fairs. You can find her today near the raffle tent for the Commonwealth and Wil-Mar run. We have a raffle every year. We have over 130 prizes. Tickets are 1 for $2, 3 tickets for $5, and 10 for $10. That's the best deal. You have a chance to win $1,000 cash. There's also a Trek bike, and there's 130 other prizes as well from neighborhood establishments.
So I know when you buy tickets, you can put anybody's name on them. So
you want people to put yours on it?
Well, no, but one year I bought a bunch of tickets. I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to put my name on all of them. So on a ton of them, I put other people's names, like maybe half, and they all won. I did not win a single prize.
Well, maybe you didn't buy enough tickets.
Apparently, I should have bought another 40.
Yeah. So I would recommend putting your own name on it because there are a lot of good prizes. You don't need to be present for the drawing tonight, which is at 6:30 at the Heartland Credit Union parking lot. But there are a lot of great prizes, and all the proceeds from that raffle, as well as all the proceeds from the fair, benefit both the Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center and Commonwealth.
And I think Wil-Mar deserves a big shout out. I think the Williamson Marquette or Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center, the folks there, let's mention Gary Callis. I mean, Marianne Morton and Gary Callis are, the twins of the Willy Street Fair in some sense.
Twins separated at birth.
Exactly. Not to mention Beatrice and Nastasia and everyone else. But it's really important. It's that old church that was given to Wil-Mar back in '68. That's been revitalized and rejuvenated and is full of life and activity and is way too small. And if people wanted to donate a ton of money to them, they would be happy to rebuild something bigger. But there is more activity and more community spirit in that building on a square foot basis than is believable.
Yeah.
And including a sheep's head night that we're going to, sheep's head card party night that we're going to try starting this fall.
So is that Call Ace or is it Jack of Diamonds?
Oh, Jack of Diamonds.
Okay.
Jack of Diamonds.
That's how you play there.
How do you play?
I haven't played in many years, but I can play both.
Okay. Yeah, Jack of Diamonds. Sheep's Head, the great feminist game where the queens have all the power and the kings count for nothing.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, you should definitely check out the Wil-Mar Neighborhood Center sometime. It's at 953 Jennifer Street, the corner of Jennifer and Brierley. It's an old church that was donated to them, and they started a community center back in the, late 60s or
1968. Yeah.
Okay. And you should also check out their website for all their programming. Their slogan is that they are a place for all people. Their website is www.wil-mar.org. So I think we're going to take a short break now, and thanks for joining us, Bert. I appreciate having you. Thanks for telling us a little bit of the history. I think we're hopefully going to go down to the street level at some point and be able to interview people as they set up for the parade. Come check us out for the parade. It starts at 11 a.m. Get here a little early, and you can see some of the setup.
Absolutely.
So thanks.
Definitely, all are welcome. There's parking available. There's streets all over the city. There's plenty of parking.
Yeah. All right. So we'll take a break now.